Hello, everyone. This is Cross. What I'd like to talk about today is my Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign. This is journal entry number 17. Big takeaway from this session: how hero points work. We've got hero points, villain points, all sorts of things going on that are not in the rule book. You guys might be wondering what that's all about. A hero point basically is something. It's loosely defined as trying to either give yourself advantage on an ability. So basically, if an athletics check's called, I want to use a hero point to give myself advantage. Okay, cool. You can only carry 3 hero points with you at any given point in time. If you have 3 hero points and you earn a hero point, you lose that hero point. So it really encourages you to spend them. Interestingly enough, several characters have been just kind of holding on to 3 hero points. They're not spending them. Several roles, to use them on, but they forget, and that's fine. So you can get advantage, or if you forget to spend it before the roll and you roll, you can spend 1 to re-roll that roll. So another interesting way. Then we also use it for creative use of abilities. So earlier in a session, or earlier in one of the other sessions, we had a Varen. He prestidigitation. He got rid of the blood that Clara needed in order to identify maybe whose blood it was. Well, I wasn't going to allow prestidigitation to restore the blood. It can dirty an object, but it can't restore back what you took away. However, with a hero point, he was able to make an intelligence check. He passed the check and then was able to restore the blood that was lost, kind of fix his error a little bit at the cost of a hero point. Yeah, sure, it's a fake currency, but it kind of limits these cool little abilities that they can do, knowing that there's a finite resource to how many times that they can do them. Villain points, they really make like a story. The protagonist can basically get a critical success on something. So it's essentially a way of saying that somewhere along the line, this story took a critical failure and is now going in a really bad way as far as in the direction of the player's favor. I used a villain point on this creature. Is modeled after a vampire. It wasn't quite a vampire, but it was modeled after a vampire, and I basically gave it a natural 20 on its initiative roll, and I maximized its HP with a villain point. So that was pretty interesting. But that's kind of the relationship between hero points, villain points. Is hero points are not quite as strong as villain point. But they can allow the players to do some really, really cool stuff with them. Villain points are, and I understand, villain points sound like something. Well, the DM can do that anyway. Sure, yes, they can. However, if you say you're only going to do this thing once every 5 sessions, I'm going to get this villain point. I'm going to spend it in an interesting way. It actually creates tension for the table to know that a villain point has just been spent. There's an inherent excitement with the process that kind of gets the players stirred up. What's the villain point spent on? Are we screwed? Yes, you probably are. The idea being that you're playing fair, but once in a while you're not gonna play fair. You're gonna really just sideline a storyline, really make it difficult. In the case of the Shattered Oblivion Rift, the rift getting so large that it actually destroyed the Foundry, kind of destroying their opportunity to get these silver weapons that they were looking forward to. Villain point worthy. It really messed up their plans. Another villain points that's out there, it's currently brewing. I'm not going to talk about that. And then this other villain point that was kind of spent just to enhance a creature a little bit more, to kind of make it where it had maximum HP, it had a natural 20 on its initiative roll. I also say that the villain point needs time to work and needs time to nurture. So when I spend the villain point determines kind of how much stronger it becomes as days in the calendar start going by. The idea being that if it's been a month in game since I enhanced this story, that story maybe is getting pretty strong and are pretty tough. Whereas in this situation, I spent the villain point the day of and just enhanced this creature just to make him a little bit tougher of a fight. And we ended up losing a character. So that's kind of what I want to really get into about how this hero point system works. All of our characters are level 4. They don't have a resurrection spell. They don't have Revivify. However, they were within the realm of Revivify. We had a life cleric. Okay, this is all important. A life cleric of the goddess of fate. If anybody is going to break the rule on, giving a character a chance to be resurrected, it's gonna be this cleric. So this, she RPs it out. She's upset. She's looking for anything. She's just channel divinities. I want to use a channel divinity, and I want to try and resurrect him, and I want to spend a hero point to do this. All right, normally. So without the hero point system, this is going to fail. This is done. This is not, channel divinity is not what this is used for. But with a hero point, she had the hero point available. She could have used it on any other thing, but she had it available. So I decided to give it a chance. That's kind of what this system is about. It's to do something far above and beyond what's normally allowed, for the sake of story. And that's really what it boils down to. So I do run Matt Mercer's Resurrection challenges. If you don't know what that is, I'll quickly kind of talk about it. I got the idea from him. I tweaked it to kind of my own style. If I'm not mistaken, I think he ended up making the same decisions I made through the course of his campaign. I don't really know what his rules are 100% yet. But essentially what I do is I start with a DC of 10. With whatever the player decides to do, I basically let them roll a D20, kind of similar to a death saving throw. If it's above the DC 10, they succeed. If it's below the DC 10, their efforts just didn't quite reach Callista. No matter how well or poorly they did in the RP, really. Now there could be some bonuses for something that really connects to the character. Maybe you roll the D20 with advantage, or maybe you subtract 1 from the difficulty. Maybe it succeeds on a 9 instead of a 10. Just whatever you want to do. The reason why I do it this way instead of what originally I saw Matt Mercer do was he used to call, I guess use a skill challenge like system where he would call for a persuasion check or he'd call for a performance check. Well, then down the road, the players started realizing that, oh, I've got a plus whatever to this, so I'm going to try and do something to kind of try and force this to be my check. I didn't want that. I wanted it to be a lot more freeform. I wanted them to really express themselves and what they're feeling in this moment and not worry about a mechanical bonus to what they were doing. And so it's just a D20. So one player rolls a D20, another rolls a D20, another one rolls a D20. This time around, I gave Shamash a D20 roll. I kind of, I guess I kind of looked for that in a way of, how well is the soul connected back to the prime material. And then, so I determined the final difficulty based on those rolls, and I roll a D20, and if my D20 is above that roll, it succeeds. On this, I rolled a natural 20, which means the character was able to come back. I also indicated through RP that, so Eris Key had a couple of feathers that burned away as this process happened, so it's almost as if we're not sure if she's going to ever be able to do that again, even with a hero point. This might have been like a one-time thing. And that kind of solidified a little bit the concept of the hero point, that this was far and above what you would normally be able to do. But we let it happen this one time, and this was the deal. This is kind of the, again, between the DM and the player, this is a deal that you can make with these points, with these hero points or these villain points. Sometimes you can let them do something and you can say, okay, I will let this happen, and you're going to spend a hero point, but if you want to go through with it, I am going to also get a villain point. So for something like extreme, you might kind of bargain away the villain point a little bit, so you get an extra villain point to spend. Ultimately, it really just allows more freedom with your story, to have a system that's just kind of like a bargaining chip, so to speak. And that's really what I take away with it, and I feel like it was used to its intent in session 17 with the resurrection of Stramash. Again, I looked at the parameters of Revivify. It was within a minute. She very quickly used that hero point to make that happen. And there was some way of indicating that maybe it wouldn't happen again. Maybe that was your one chance. So that's kind of like a takeaway on the hero point system. I feel like it really shined in this in the session, and then we were able to kind of do more of our standard RP. So we'll take a look at what happens next session, and see you guys next time.